Good morning, or well, no, I guess morning for most. How are you today? Michelle Wadleigh here, usually known as Rev Jersey Girl from Jersey Girl Wisdom, and today I'm here supporting this Science of Mind series. I haven't been here in a minute. My life has been a little crazy, but we're trying to get grounded, and I'm back here today supporting chapter 20, What the Mystics Knew, and excited to be with you on this day. I want to bring you into the practice as if you were in my physical classroom. So I'm going to ask you to take 2 minutes with me to let's shut off the distractions. If you're here really for the purpose of this lesson, let's shut off the distractions together. Close our eyes for a minute and just have 2 minutes of grounding silence. Empty your hands, if you will, if they're not. Sit comfortably and position yourself to be present and receive. So I'm grateful for this day, for this moment, for this connection. And I declare that the Holy of the Holies, the potency of all that is good and glorious in everywhere present, avails itself to us right now, right here in this moment. It avails itself to us, through us, but as us. So as we each open our mind and open our heart and open our willingness to receive, the right and perfect message is received today. It is delivered as it needed to be, and it is received in a way that is supportive and helpful. I trust that this process is glorious. I simply surrender this word with a great sense of gratitude. I release it to love, I release it to law, and I release it to the awe of life itself. And so it is. Amen. So, welcome. I am so very glad that you're here. The Science of Mind textbook for me. Good morning, Godlings. Yes, good morning, Diego. The Science of Mind textbook, in my mind, was not the easiest book for me to crack open, and yet, in and of itself, it feels mystical because every time I read and reread, I find something new. And I know we've all had that experience where we think that the book has been rewritten and edited, and suddenly a new piece of wisdom has presented itself. Well, on this day, I want you to know that when I teach Science of Mind, I teach it for its practicality and for application. I would never be one of those mystical teachers that provides just some concepts to ponder. I'm about the pondering and the nitty gritty simultaneously, because for me, when I go through all of this, and I go through all the study, which I have for many, for a number of decades now, I do so because I want to know that my life is elevated. I want to know for me and for my students that I'm going to be happier, lighter, easier because of what I've taught. So that's the place that I come from with all of this. And hopefully today it lands well with you. I also want you to know, although I don't claim myself to be a feminist, I do on occasion tire of hearing the he's and him's in the textbook as much as I do, so I do take liberty to switch them out. So my apologies to those who that might offend, and to everyone else, enjoy, and we'll have a little balance. So on page 327, it says, there is nothing mysterious in the truth, so far as it is understood. But all things seem mysterious until we understand them. That seems pretty clear and obvious. A mystic is one who intuitively perceives truth and without mental process arrives at spiritual realization. No living soul could have taught them what they knew. So Holmes begins by having us understand the life and the nature of the mystics. And one of the very first things he does is he takes it away from the mysterious, because he wants us to understand. And for me, in my understanding of our precious Ernest Holmes, his entire reason for being was to take what seemed mystical and mysterious and out of reach and pull it in, so we common folk can integrate the teaching and integrate God and integrate wisdom and integrate intelligence, and then through that integration have an expansion of our own awareness, our self-awareness, but the awareness of our cosmic experience. And it seems to me that he's been very dedicated to have a mind be within reach, which to me is it's why I love the teaching. It's just why I love the teaching and the way he held it. So he says that a mystic is one who intuitively perceives truth and without mental process. And so how do you and I, how do we begin to embrace that? Well, one of the things is, and I'm sure that every minister out there or practitioner teaches or study group, there is no development of the self without spiritual practices. It just can't exist. In order to have these realizations, in order to have the experience that is promised to us, there is the requirement that you be in spiritual practice. Now, spiritual practice in and of itself, sometimes we have to remove the mysterious part of that. It can be as simple as sitting in silence on a daily basis. And I'm saying silence as opposed to meditation, because meditation is a more organized practice where silence simply allows. If you can have a practice of daily silence and you just become that receptive vessel, it could shock you the amount of good and wisdom and intuition and ideas and inspiration will find you simply by sitting still. As I see it, the world in its busyness we are so often so busy running around, God can almost not catch up to us. We have to stop and be still and be available to receive. And so when you do that, you are able to tap into the same exact sources that all of the mystics did, because it's not doled out. There is not a category in the creation of God that says these are mystics and these are the common people. You and I, in our practices, avail ourselves to the same wisdom, to the same genius, to the same understanding, but you must comply in becoming available. He says that the great poets, musicians, scientists have all tapped into the source of all sources. So this speaks to what I just said. All the intelligence that is, all the genius that is, all of it consistently is available. And not only is it consistently available, it's available everywhere simultaneously. So whether I'm sitting here in the town of Denville or you're sitting in San Francisco or in Calgary, Canada, we each have direct and immediate access to the genius, to the intuition and the inspiration. What makes it work? One, your belief in it. Two, your compliance in moving into right relationship with it. And moving into right relationship means getting silent and being available, plus many other things, plus meditation and prayer and spiritual readings. But in the stillness, all things become available. He says in the textbook, it goes on to say, the mystic has revealed things that do not pass as ships in the night. She has revealed eternal verities and has plainly taught us that there is a living presence indwelling all. Now, for those of us listening here, it is very, I consider it almost obvious, which sounds so not very sexy. I consider it obvious that God is indwelling. To those who feel like that's an insult to your religion, to those who might trip upon this, that's the difference. That's the difference between the teachings. But it's what I love, an indwelling presence. And if you are listening, very likely either you already believe that or you want to believe that. You want to know that the spirit that is, the God that is, the intelligence that is available to you. Well, it is. And it's available to you, through you, and as you. I mean, that's what makes this whole thing so amazing. The mystic, and he goes to create some distinctions in this chapter. The mystics, the mystic does not read human thought, but rather she senses the atmosphere of God. The mystics of every age have seen, sensed, and taught the same truth. So he just wants us to have a sense of the difference between mystics. And he goes on for a bit to talk about how mystics psychics, I meant to say, that psychics are influenced a lot by their personality and different, almost like a different radio wave. And he's saying that mystics, though, tune into the one central point. And you have to decide what you believe about that. So can you be psychic and be a mystic? Yes. Yes, you can be both. But you have to be able to differentiate and plug into the single source of all good. The single source of all good. I don't want to take much time to speak about the differentiation, because there's so much other juicy stuff in here. The mystics have been perfectly normal people who did think of themselves as mystics, who did not think of themselves as mystics. That was their language. See, so we have a love in humanity loves to put people on pedestals. It loves to put people in the front. It loves to quote others. That's lovely. But it denies the importance and the value and the intelligence of you when you are only looking outside at that mystic or that teacher or that leader. I encourage you to consider it a both end. That yes, that person is doing what I'd like to do, and that person that I quoted has something magnificent. But I too have it. I too possess the access to this all intelligence. So what we are doing as Science of Mind students is we're saying, okay, me too. Ernest Holmes was brilliant, but me too. Michael Beckwith is brilliant, but me too. Carolyn Mace, brilliant, but me too. It is absolutely imperative that you own your brilliance. You must own your brilliance and your connection. Let me just see what I have here. Holmes says that the mystics encourage us to oh, I love this, to consciously court the divine. Consciously court the divine presence. This, my dear friends, is why having a commitment to spiritual practices elevates the experience in your life. The more you court the divine presence expressed in your own way, the more you lift yourself out of the conditioning of the planet. The difference between the suffering and the people who appear to not suffer, it's not true that individuals who seem free haven't suffered, but they have learned to lift themselves out of it. They have lifted themselves up, and they're lifting themselves up. And you can call it many different things. I love the way Holmes refers to it, though, in courting the divine presence. So when you and I are in relationship with the divine, with God, with spirit, with life, with energy, by any name, when we are in that relationship, we are lifted. We are lifted. We are lifted because our eyes are lifted. Our eyes go to the prize of freedom, of intelligence. And so when our eyes are lifted up toward the divine, that's the metaphor of that, then we're not stuck in the doldrum of the humanity. And we're not stuck in the doldrum of the suffering. And I say doldrum, that's a little disrespectful. In the experience of suffering. Suffering will happen anyway. Pain will happen. It's pretty much part of the human experience, but we don't have to stay there. And our courting of the divine is what makes this possible. What we directly experience ourselves and what we believe others have experienced is all we can know about God. What we directly experience ourselves and what we believe others have experienced is all we can know about God. Yeah, I think it's a time that every one of us take this out of theory and choose to court the divine on our terms and cultivate that relationship so it's so deep and so profound that it precedes us with all steps. It precedes us into the room. It comforts us at night when we sleep, and it wakes us in the morning. Jesus taught a power transcendent, triumphant, absolute, positive, against which lesser laws meant nothing. There's a big one. Jesus taught a power transcendent, triumphant, absolute, and positive, against which lesser laws meant nothing. Okay, you got to get this. So by its very nature, it heals. By its nature, it heals. So as you and I raise ourselves up, as we raise ourselves up by being in that right relationship, as we court the divine, what happens is our vibration is lifted. When our vibration is lifted, we cease being available to the lower, slower vibrations of stress and drama and pain and suffering. And even if we might have the experience, it can shorten the amount of time that we have the experience. By its very presence, it heals. So for one moment, let's stop. Let's just stop. Close your eyes. Just close your eyes right now. And move inside, move deeper within, move into that place of stillness. For another moment, consciously remove the chaos of the outside world if you can. Shut off anything else. Just go inside. There is a place within where you have never been hurt, harmed, or injured in any way. This is that beautiful, potent precious and powerful place that lives within you. By its nature, it is healing. So as we turn our attention to this place, every time we turn our attention to this place, something inside of us is healed. Something is made more whole. Not they could be more or less whole, but the experience, wholeness is revealed to us in a greater way. But we must take time to turn our attention here, here. And by its very presence, it heals. Healing is not mysterious. If you are busy courting the divine, there will be a, uh, a natural gift of healing if you find yourself in that relationship more and more often. Okay, and please don't let the simplicity of that statement get by you. I want to say it a fourth time. By its very presence, it heals. And that's the presence of the transcendent and the triumphant as us, as you. Okay? Oh, man. There's a paragraph I want to read to you on 330. Let me get to it. Where am I? Okay. The whole of God is present at any and every point within God. It was to this indwelling spirit that Jesus prayed, for God is within man as well as throughout all creation. So the whole of God, spirit, presence, energy, I keep doing that because in case you don't resonate with the word God, I don't want you to turn off. But wherever the full presence is, wherever you can surrender into it, it lives in you and as you. If you are seeking a healing, let's say you are not experiencing full health in this moment. If you turn your attention away from the diagnosis and toward the oneness and the presence of spirit as you are in greater alignment with that presence that is going to know you, recognize you, and lift you up. In my flesh shall I see God, Job said. I get a little emotional. I wasn't, a religious person. And yet some of these truths that are shared are they're so potent that Job said, in my flesh shall I see God. In my flesh shall I see perfection. In my flesh shall I see spirit. In my flesh. But what happens is, as humans, we have turned away and turned to technology, and we have turned away from our intuition and our connection with the presence. But it's right here. It was never outside. It was never outside. And yes, we're going to go to doctors, and yes, we're going to seek help, but because that very surrender is still a good thing. But while we are working on the physical plane, let us also work on the spiritual plane. And remember, in my flesh, I see God. In my flesh, I am of it. So that means every cell of my body temple, if I can remember and stay more conscious every moment of every day, then I am activating the God cells as me. Every moment I turn my attention there. Please remember, if you have any questions or comments that you want me to respond to, I can do that. They will put your questions on the banner. So if anything comes up for you, please feel free to do that. The whole of God is present at any and every point within God. It was to this indwelling spirit that Jesus prayed. For God is within man as well as throughout all creation. Throughout all creation. Think of how much of a healing concept this is. he goes on to say, and this is another one, I and the Father are one. So all right, I and the Mother are one. I and God is one. I and the presence and the power of the indwelling spirit are one. It is the oneness, the reaffirming of it, the reaffirming of it, the reaffirming of it. No, I'm not stuck on repeat. That allows for the increase in the healing qualities that are innate. They are innate. This is what the practitioners of science of mind, this is what the practitioners of science of mind depend upon. The practitioners of the science of mind depend upon their oneness and their relationship with the divine, as with practitioners or anybody who's been studying it, or any spiritual individual or religious individual. It is the alignment with the one that allows and empowers us to heal. Get that? The alignment with is what empowers us to heal. If we think something is outside of our capacity to heal, it is our thinking that interrupts the healing process. It's our thinking that interrupts the healing process. This is the difference between the common person and the mystics. We must unify in our own mentalities with pure spirit. This is the unification step. But also, Jesus, when he, oh yeah, I want to go to page 331. Jesus began with thanks when he stood at the tomb of Lazarus, as the story goes. He began with thanks. He began with gratitude. If you lived in a state, what amps up your faith and oneness? I'll get to that 1 second. If you can leave that on the screen, that would be helpful to me. If you begin your morning, continue your day, and end your night in gratitude, you will cultivate a oneness in the cells of your body as healthy and as healing as any vitamin you could possibly take. What amps up your faith in oneness? I'll assume you mean generically, Wayne. For me, what amps up the faith is looking and seeking evidence and seeking. It doesn't take much to seek evidence. All one has to do is to go out into the forest, a forest that has been uninterrupted, that has not been chopped down or defined by humans, one where the forest has been left alone. There is this beautiful show, on Netflix. I don't remember where it was, and it talks about the intelligence of trees. In a forest that is untouched by humans, the trees support and love on each other and have compassion for each other so much that they have a natural innate balance. But it is being scientifically proven that a larger tree cares for the smaller trees. There is science to prove the interrelational stuff going on between trees without all the fancy technology and the language that we humans have surrendered to. So if that is happening amongst trees, I have faith that we as humans can align and allow and experience that oneness with each other. And when we stay in a community, when we reach out for a community, because I'm always sad when someone feels alone, when I know we're never really alone. But when we are in that alignment, our faith will grow, our conviction will grow. That's my answer to that. Man is in God and God is man, just as a drop of water is in the ocean, while the ocean is the drop of water. You and I, God is the blueprint for us, and we are the evidence We are the evidence. It to expect to be one in that divine presence is our call. It is our divine birthright. It's what the mystics knew. Oh, and I love this. We are a point in universal consciousness, which is God, and God is our life, spirit, mind, and intelligence. No separation ever. We are a point in universal consciousness. What this is saying is that there's no place you can go where it is not. Now, you've seen that on a bumper sticker. There's no spot where God is not, and it's been said in that cute way. Let's take the cuteness out of it. And the mystics knew this. There's no place, there's no way to not be of it. There's no time you're not of it unless you're in denial of it. The more you affirm your oneness, the more you affirm unity of life, the more you affirm that intelligence lives as you, the more it is activated. You must activate it. And you do that by your thinking, speaking, and pondering. So Jesus began with thanks. This was his recognition according to Holmes. By saying thanks, there is the conscious assumption that all is well, that the whole prayer has been answered. This is why it's imperative that we don't wait for physical evidence to express gratitude. We don't wait for physical evidence to express gratitude. So the mystic in you, when you wake up in the morning, to begin with, oh, this is a good and glorious day. Oh, thank you for this day. Oh, thank you for allowing me to breathe. Oh, thank you for opening my eyes. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, thank you. So that thank you raises your vibration. It raises your vibration. Now, can you hang out there all the time? It could be a little bit of a struggle because it takes a lot of attention, but you can do it. If we look at the stages of spiritual growth, most of us don't hang out in the fourth stage of as us. We usually hover between, through us and as us, which is the third and fourth stage of spiritual growth. But those are two good stages to hang out in. And to extend the experience during the day is to be in gratitude. On page 332, he starts to talk about individuality. The higher the sense of truth, the greater will be the realization of the uniqueness of individual character and personality. The real self is God-given and cannot be denied. It is a place where God comes to a point of individualized and personified expression. Get that? Where it is, where you are, let me say it this way. As God individualizes itself and personifies itself as you become it. And you become that walking mystic, that presence, that healing presence. Because if you and I walk in it, and we walk into a room, we carry that healing presence with us. No one will, people might not know what you're walking into the room with. They might not. But the impact cannot be denied. Because when one walks in that consciousness that I am one with the one, I am one with that indwelling presence, I am one with the indwelling intelligence and spirit, you fill that room with love and with compassion and with a healing essence. Spontaneous healing can absolutely happen when you carry that into the room. I want you to sit with that for a moment because that's like a big idea. That's saying it's not that you have to go out and reach forward and talk about it. When you become it, when you and I walk in it, it precedes us. It paves the way. It opens the doors. So if you as the individual can do that, it does take aligning with the one. So in that moment you're almost moving out of your individuality into the oneness, into the unity of all things. But it starts with you claiming and declaring it. So actually right now, just go inside again for a second. Let's make this more real right now. Silently repeat after me. I am one with the one. This one loves me. This one loves through me. This one heals through me. I walk in the healing presence. I carry the healing presence. I align with the healing presence. So just feel that. If you could commit to shutting off the outside world once a day, just once a day, for a couple of moments and turn to that. Imagine. Imagine how that would shift your interactions with the world and your own life and with other people. Imagine that. One day, one time a day, saying, I am one with the indwelling healing presence of the one. I walk in it, I carry it, I speak it, I live in it. I am it. Just saying. It's a big idea. Since we see that personality is what one does with his individuality, we should turn within, as have all those great souls who have blessed the world with their presence. We should turn within and find God. That's on page 334. That's actually what I was just speaking about. Undoubtedly, the power of Jesus lay in his recognition of the infinite person as a responsive, conscious, living reality, while on the other hand, he recognized the law as an arbitrary force which was compelled to obey his law. He combined the personal and the impersonal attributes of life into a perfect whole. The infinite is personal to every soul who believes in the infinite. The mystics have taught that there is but one ultimate reality, and that this reality is here now, if we could but see it. So, we're recognizing that the one is something that can absorb us. We can never absorb the all of it. We are an effect to its cause. But all of the cause that is avails itself through us so we can access it and activate it. Oh my God, was I supposed to do a commercial? I do want to say on behalf of New Thought Media Network, if you have enjoyed this show or any of the dozens of shows that are now available to you all week long, please do go to New Thought Media. There is the link, and donate money on behalf of this precious show. Sorry, it was in my normal routine of my Thursday show. See, I want to say to you that this is why I'm so proud of the practitioners in our organization, and I so want them to be more valued than they are. A practitioner, especially a good practitioner, is somebody who lives in that presence, returns to that presence, recognizes the indwelling presence on a regular basis, not just once in a while, which means they carry that into their conversations. We are a healing teaching. We are a healing teaching. Our practitioners are critically important because they have done the work to seek the truth, to know the truth as them. And again, when it comes to healing, and I think all of this is very important because for me, it has to have a practical application. And it is practical to expect healing, especially to use practitioners for that purpose. Will you still need to seek a doctor? Maybe. But I encourage those of you listening to use a practitioner in relationship, in concert with the medical doctor at the same time. Your practitioner will know what to do. They will know how to pray for this purpose. It's very important. It's really very important. Okay, the great mystics taught that man should have no burdens and would have none if he turned to the one. This is the beauty of those who have blind faith. And this is where we who participate in this intelligent teaching can trip ourselves up sometimes. We question and we question and we question. Sometimes we question ourselves right out of having faith. We want to look under the hood of the car and know why it's working instead of just trusting that it's working. Now, I prefer intelligent and informed faith over blind faith. I do. But that faith in and of itself is imperative. And the faith says that the law works without me working it. I mean, the evidence that your heart continues to beat without you having to tell it to beat. The evidence that you breathe without having to think, oh, I have to take a breath. That is the evidence of the presence of the power of the one as you doing what it does. And every moment of every day should be a day of recognition. I am telling you, if you could turn your attention away from the problems and the issues you're having and turn it toward the one, just like the golden key that Emmett Fox wrote. He said, when you have a problem, think about God instead. When you have a life issue, think about God instead. So if you can turn your attention away, it's just like, get thee behind me, Satan. Turn your attention away from that which is limiting you and indulge and dive into and surrender to the one. And remember that it is an indwelling presence. Jesus didn't manipulate the outside world. Jesus worked with his belief in how he saw the world. And so the last thing I'm going to have time to get to today, which is almost the end of the chapter, but it's about evolution. The universe, both visible and invisible, is a spiritual system. Man is a part of the spiritual order, so indivisibly united with it, that the entire cosmos is reflected in his mind. Material evolution is an effect, not a cause. This reverses the popular belief declaration that evolution is the result of intelligence rather than intelligence being the result of evolution. This is probably one of the things that secured my practice of science of mind and said, yep, I'm in. That we are not at the mercy of what was, not now, not ever. So when you and I have an intelligent thought and we choose to think intelligently about a challenge, just about any challenge, when we choose to think intelligently, we choose to activate evolution. We are activating evolution. So while I agree that climate change is here, it's real. You and I can be part of the solution. While racism is very real, you and I can consciously be part of the solution. While the coronavirus is still something that people are experiencing, you and I can be part of the solution by being intelligently involved in recreating how we see it, speak about it, think about it, ponder about it. Evolution is impacted by what you and I think and hold in our mind and in our heart. So every moment of every day, we live our life either by default or by design. If you are doing it by design, then you will practice that gratitude that we spoke of. And you will remember about the indwelling presence that is you. It is you. It is not outside. Until we believe that it is, we are believing that it is not. It is all a matter of belief. But belief is scientifically induced into a subjective state through conscious endeavor. The aim of evolution is to produce a man who, at the objective point of her own self determination, may completely manifest the inner life of the spirit. Even spirit does not seek to control us, it lets us alone to discover ourselves. This can be confronting and confusing because if we feel like we're at the mercy of life and we're struggling, to be told that you're part of evolution can feel hard, and I don't mean it like that. Yet, when you and I lift ourselves up, if for just a moment you can choose to align with the one and not believe in the limitations that have been diagnosed, healing can happen, shift can happen, relationships can heal, prosperity can flow through your life, creativity shows itself. But you and I have to consciously be part of this evolution. So I'm going to treat for us right now as we come to a close of our time together. Please join me in the spiritual mind treatment. You may close your eyes or not, whatever works for you. Please take a breath. Turn away from all distraction. Turn to that indwelling presence and affirm with me now. There is one holy, lovely, sacred, beautiful, and magnificent one. It is everywhere present, always available, ebbing and flowing and moving, creating and recreating out of itself. And it recreates through each of us as we decide to be available to it. So I declare for all who are listening now, I am available. And I know the one avails itself in full measure. I also affirm that I of myself can do nothing. It is not the personality of me, but the I am of me that speaks this word. The presence is. Oh, it is so powerful, so beautiful, and its reach, I would say, is far, but it's simply present. The reach of the presence of the one is absolute. And as I turn my attention away from all distractions and I turn toward the one as me, I am lifted and elevated. Evolution happens even in this moment as I declare for myself and all who are listening that life is good and so very good. That truly wholeness and perfection is our divine birthright. That love and joy and health and prosperity is there for the realization. Through gratitude and acceptance, I call forth these experiences into our lives, and it's simply a gentle redirection of my attention. The indwelling presence activates all of my good. I know this and I experience this, and with bountiful gratitude, I affirm it and I accept it. I surrender this word to love, to law, and to the awe of life itself. And so it is. Each and every week we are here on Saturday mornings. Each and every week we bring to you another lesson from the textbook. And next week is the Reverend Dr. Ken Gordon. You will find me every Thursday on the Jersey Girl Wisdom, and I am the founding director of CSL North Jersey. If I could be of service to you, it's very easy to contact me. I am revjerseygirl@gmail.com. Everybody can remember that. Please be well, be happy, and be brilliant on your journey toward the revelation of Spirit as you. May the evolution of life itself be good. I love you. I'll talk to you soon. Be well.